And we're back with another episode of the Press Box Podcast, episode 69, if you're counting at home. And in today's episode, we are going to recap the conference championship games in the NFL. We had Buccaneers-Packers, and then we had Bills and Chiefs. So we'll break those games down ahead of the Super Bowl 55 coming up here. And after that, we will talk a little bit about some other NFL news, particularly coaching changes. We have a number of changes have happened since we last talked about it, with the Texans job still being open, so we'll go over that. And we'll talk a little bit about the quarterback market. This year specifically, there looks to be a lot of movement at the quarterback position, even with some veteran quarterbacks that you don't see very often, like maybe Stafford and Deshaun Watson. So we'll get into that. But first, let's talk about our Twitter account as we always do. Make sure you follow us over there on Twitter at PressBoxPod. We like interacting with you guys, listeners and things like that. And I know we probably have some new listeners out there, so make sure you get involved there. But without further ado, episode 69 of the Press Box Podcast starts now.
Okay, welcome back to the Press Box Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ralph Miranda. I'll be joined by my other co-host, Joseph Miranda, and our producer, Nathan Miranda, shortly. This is episode 69 of the Press Box Podcast, and we're wrapping up the National Football League season. We just had the championship weekend games, the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship. That'll be the majority of our discussion today. We're going to talk about some coaching vacancies. We're going to talk about some strategy in the two games that were just completed this weekend, and get you all ready next week for our Super Bowl preview issue of the Press Box Podcast. But today we're going to discuss NFC AFC Championship, and I'm joined now by Joseph Miranda, my other co-host. And Joseph, two pretty good games Sunday. The second game probably got out of hand maybe a little bit late in the second half, but generally a pretty good football game. What were your takeaways from Sunday's games?
Yeah. Let's start with the first game for me. Just really, it sounds like I'm saying anything, not saying anything we'll know, but Tom Brady's greatness, right? Because, I mean, he leaves the Patriots after all these years and goes to Tampa Bay and is taking the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl now. Like,
that is pretty amazing when you think about it. Yeah.
Just think about it that way. And something, too, about the Buccaneers. Like, we all know that in the 70s they went 0-14. Like, they're not like a storied NFL franchise. I mean, they've been around longer than some teams, but it's not like the Eagles or the Giants or the Colts, like these storied franchises. It's just the Buccaneers, right? So that's the first thing when you just look at the game. And look, I mean, you have to also question now Aaron Rodgers, like his greatness that everybody claims, right? Like he's a very good quarterback. I think we've said he probably wins MVP this year, but this is another NFC Championship loss for him. I think he's 1-4 now.
1-4
all time.
Yeah.
So I mean. Yeah, I mean those are my two takeaways: Brady's greatness, and then that Aaron Rodgers is kind of moving into that category now where you can't quite get it done at the pinnacle, right? So,
yeah, that's a good question.
Well, granted, I mean, this is also why he wins the MVP, but it's kind of all on him to get it done. He doesn't have the Packers aren't that great of a team, right? If you take him away, they may not make the playoffs. I don't know, but so he got him this far, but. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you look at the NFC Championship Game losses for Aaron Rodgers, he lost to the Seahawks, right, in 2014, I think, season on a Hail Mary touchdown pass. Okay, I mean, they did fight back.
I think they had the lead. The Packers.
They did have the lead. You're exactly right, but that's not his fault, right, to give up a lead. They lost to the Falcons, a team that was probably hot that year and offensively was probably one of the better football teams. He lost last year to the San Francisco 49ers, again, a team that pretty much brutalized him. I mean, I think they sacked him like 7 or 8 times. And then, of course, losing this year to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, I agree with you. I think you have to start questioning whether Aaron Rodgers is good enough to get it done.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl. He is. But, if you're going to put him in that upper echelon category, which everyone seems to think he's in, right, with Manning and Brady and
Both
Favre,
Both
both
Mannings,
Mannings,
thank you.
Montana, those type of guys. Everybody will tell you he's an all-time great quarterback. Well, is he really? Like, he's a very good quarterback, but you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well,
yeah, we're getting off a little bit
no,
on
no.
Aaron Rodgers' legacy.
I mean, I think the landscape is littered with quarterbacks that have won Super Bowl. So,
Trent Dilfer.
right?
Yeah. Trent
Trent Dilfer. That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, Brad Johnson. I mean, we can go down the list.
It's a different type of quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, but let's focus on Tom Brady for a minute. I mean, the big question when he left New England was, okay, was it Belichick or was it Brady? Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious right now that it was Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The Patriots were 7-9 this year. They had nowhere near the quarterback play that they had with Tom Brady. Mm. And I think the thing that you didn't realize with the Patriots, because of the Belichick aura, Belichick's shadow was over that team so much. The thing you didn't realize was how important Brady is just to the overall culture of the team.
Right.
I mean, look what he did for the Buccaneers. I mean, we're talking about a season where they had no off-season activities, no off-season mini camps, no real training camp to speak of, no preseason games. Right. Everything was done digitally or virtually. And this guy was able to pull this team together and raise their level of play. I mean, he raised the level of play of the offensive line. He raised the level of play of the receivers. He even raised the level of play of the defense, as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's the thing that amazes me so much about Tom Brady that you didn't see with the Patriots, because you couldn't tell if it was him or Belichick. Now you can see that it's him that's able to take a group of players and raise them up above what they can achieve.
I think before this season, a lot of people assumed that was Belichick. That seems more like an administrative type of thing, kind of.
Good point. Yeah,
but yeah, I agree. It looked like it was Brady, and like we said, he did something with the Buccaneers this year that was probably the hardest year for him to have achieved it. Like you said, I mean,
right.
It's already tough for a guy like that who's played his whole career with one team to switch to a new team because he has to get to know his team, his receivers most importantly.
Right.
But he get to know everyone else in the new team, his coaching staff.
Right.
And he does that in a year where you can't really do that face to face as much as you'd like. So it's even tougher. Like
right. Right.
But I get the feeling too that when all the teams Brady was talking, or that people were talking about, he may go to before the season. What was it? The Titans,
Chargers, right.
Raiders.
The Raiders. I get the feeling that any of those teams are a Super Bowl team with Brady.
Oh, no question.
I think he could take any one of those teams to the Super Bowl.
No question. Yeah.
So that's why I think it's not just like Joseph touched on. It's not just the Buccaneers that he went to happened to be really great. I don't think anybody was expecting them to be a favorite. I mean, a cold hard lock to win the division before the season without Brady. I mean, like you said, they weren't a great team really without him.
Right, they weren't. Yeah, I mean, they were a talented football team, but they weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't a very good football team as far as being able to perform.
I think short of like the league bottom feeders, Brady could have just about taken anybody to the Super Bowl this season.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But back to the game specifically, and you said this earlier, the touchdown pass right before halftime is what really
broke their
put away
back.
the Packers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a Giants fan, I think back to 2011 when the Giants went into Green Bay for the divisional round. Green Bay was 15-1. They were the defending Super Bowl champions. And right before half, Eli Manning threw a Hail Mary into the end zone that Hakeem Nicks caught for a touchdown. That deflates a team. I mean, when you give up a touchdown pass on the last play of the half, it just takes something out of you. And I think that really hurt the Packers because that put them down 21-10. And then the Buccaneers came out in the second half and got an interception and drove it down and scored. I think that was really the turning point in the game. Even though Rodgers was able to bring him back.
Yeah.
Was there a turnover before that led to that possession, or did they just punt the Packers?
I think they just punted.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
There was. I feel like were they in field goal range and they got knocked out and had to punt? I feel like they were on the verge of points.
Who, the Packers?
Yeah, and then they had to punt. It was like a sweat, maybe 10 points.
I don't remember exactly. Okay. But I know
wrong,
the Buccaneers had the ball and they could have kicked a field goal had that pass not worked. I think they were within field goal range. Yeah, okay. I think so. Yeah.
And then the other big thing was Packers kicking a field goal to make it 31-26 instead of just going for it because you're going to need a touchdown either way, even if you make the field goal like they did.
That's correct.
Very questionable move.
That was a very questionable move. I think, no offense to my team's quarterback, but if it's Daniel Jones on the other sideline or, Dwayne Haskins or, Sam Darnold, yeah, you kick the field goal, okay? But that's Tom Brady, okay? There's a good chance, and it turned out that way, that you're not going to see the ball again. And they didn't see the ball again. You got Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You're on the 8-yard line or 9-yard line, wherever they were. I mean, go ahead and go for it. Even if you don't make it, the Buccaneers are pinned down in their own territory, and you've got a chance.
It's still a one-possession game.
And it's still a one-possession game.
Just like it was when you made the field goal.
That's exactly right. And I think then you have a much better opportunity, I think, to maybe pull the game out. If that was. But yeah, very questionable call. I think he's been pretty much raked over the coals in social media.
Yeah.
I think even Aaron Rodgers questioned it without questioning it. If you know what I mean. So.
Well, a couple of things, real quick. Somebody like Aaron Rodgers, how much say do you think he has at the time? He might mention. Do you think he even has the ability, or do you think he feels even comfortable mentioning to him? No, I disagree. We should go for it. Right now? Or do you think he doesn't even mention anything?
He can mention it, but I guess the coach has the ultimate say. They asked him about it after the game, and he just said, "Well, that wasn't my decision." That's all I said about it. So obviously he didn't want to do that.
That could mean a lot of things. That could mean, hey, he went to the coach and said, "Hey, I think we ought to go for it." The coach said, "No, I think."
I guess that's what I'm saying. What do you think? Do you think a guy like that will go to the coach and say, "Listen, I think you should go for it"?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers is that kind of guy. He's not going to just take it. Yeah.
Of course, what are you going to do if the coach says no? But yeah, I agree with you. And a lot of people were citing that pass interference call that the Buccaneers had to hit. But I feel like you should never have been put in that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, or if you were put in that situation, it should have been as a result of the fact that you went for it and didn't get it, but you were trying to,
Right. Well, even if they wouldn't have called pass interference there, the Buccaneers would have punted. The Packers would have had no timeouts and probably about 20 seconds left.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have won the game.
Rodgers is known for his Hail Marys, but still, you play the part. I agree. I had a feeling at that point in the game that it was basically.
It was over. Yeah, it was pretty much over.
They haven't been calling a lot of penalties all postseason, but that looked like that was a pretty blatant.
It was
pulling
pretty,
the guy's jersey.
Yeah, it was pretty egregious. And another thing I questioned too was when the Packers had the ball down there on the Buccaneers goal line, the one where they kicked the field goal instead of going for it, they threw it to Devontae Adams 3 times. Okay, now I'm thinking to myself, don't you think the Buccaneers know that he's going to get the ball? I mean, why don't you mix it up a little bit? Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's probably one of the best receivers in the league, if not the best. But maybe have a little more creativity there. And I put that on Rodgers more than I do anybody else. And Rodgers, as mobile as he is, they should have spread it out and have him run it a little bit. I don't know, but they put themselves in that situation and ended up coming back to bite them.
So
I would have liked to see Gronk featured a little more. I thought he would be, but they still didn't really.
He had that one big catch. Remember the big catch?
The screen pass.
Yeah. That was a great call. That screen pass.
But I think they. I remember one play they were on the goal line, and I think I don't remember the specifics. It might have been play action, but they threw a touchdown pass to that other tight end.
Bray.
But then I noticed there, if you watch the play, I think I don't know, was Gronk lined up right beside him? Was Gronk?
He was
right beside him, and he blocked Gronk.
Right.
And that. What's the guy's last name?
Bray
went up for a pass, but the safety, he got pulled up in the play action, and that Bray got behind the touchdown. I was thinking to myself, why don't you throw it to Gronkowski in that situation? But then again, if you have Bray block and Gronkowski go out, how effective is that? How effective is the play action going to be to the defense when they see Gronkowski going out for a pass but Bray blocking? But when they see Gronkowski blocking, the guy probably figures
it's a run.
He'd be going out for a pass if they're going to pass it.
That's a good point.
So I think maybe they're using him kind of strategically.
That's a good point.
In those type of ways.
Yeah, a couple other things that I want to mention too, that I think we talked about Sunday during the game was a couple of misjudgments on the Buccaneers' part. One, we talked about the Packers' misjudgment, but the Packers kicked the field goal with a little over 2 minutes left in the game. They lined up to kick off to the Buccaneers with, I want to say, about 2:06, 2:07 left in the game. Okay, now the Packers had 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning coming up. Yeah. So I think I made the comment that if you're the Packers, okay, you want to try to kick the ball out of the end zone, right? Because that way the Buccaneers have to run one play, have the 2-minute warning, and then you still got your 3 timeouts, right? But they didn't kick it out of the end zone. They kicked it to the little guy that was having problems returning kicks. Then I said, well, he should have been able to run the ball enough where you burn enough time to get to the 2-minute warning. And what does he do? He catches the ball, he runs like 3 or 4 yards, and then he gives himself up.
Yeah.
So now,
2 seconds left.
Exactly. So now the Buccaneers have the ball with 2:02 left. They have to run a play, 2-minute warning, And that pretty much,
the Packers are giving them a gift there by not kicking it.
Exactly.
And then he just says, no thanks.
Exactly. Yeah, and the Packers kicking the ball, pooch kicking it, or whatever they did, I thought was stupid too, because you risk getting to the 2-minute warning there.
Yeah, well, that's stupid on the Packers' part. But then I wonder too, do you think the Buccaneers would tell that guy, listen, they're probably going to kick it out of the end zone. If they kick it to you, though, don't try to at least run for like 10 seconds.
Right.
Try to
get to 2 minutes.
Get to 2 minutes.
Right.
Which you look at the clock. You got X amount of seconds left, so you
Right.
know when you catch the ball that you got that many seconds. Try to get to the 2-minute mark.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And they must not have told him that because he just blatantly gave himself up.
Yeah, he did. He blatantly gave himself up, which I thought was ridiculous.
And then how about also in that? Is that the last thing you're going to say?
No, go ahead.
That final Buccaneers drive too. Right after that, the start of the drive, a couple plays later, I think maybe it was. Or was it a couple plays later? Or the Packers purposely
jumped offside. Yeah.
Was it the very next? No.
It was a second. It was a second and on the first play, the Buccaneers had gotten like
8 or
9 yards
in the handoff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So now,
2nd and 1.
then we had the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
So now we got 2nd and 1 with 2 minutes left in the game. Packers have 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
So he automatically jumped off sides to give him the first down so that they could call their 3 timeouts and get the ball back.
I see, yeah.
Otherwise, the Buccaneers would have gotten the first down. Packers would have used 1 timeout, and now it would have been 1st and 10, and they would have had 2 timeouts.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that was a smart move. But the Buccaneers could have declined that.
Which I don't understand.
Which I don't understand that either.
Unless in their mind they were thinking, we'll just take the first down when we can get it, right? I mean, I guess there's always a chance that you get stopped in this 3rd and 1. And then
That's true. That's true. But
you have to think that.
you have to think you're going to get a first down. I mean, you got to figure you're going to get a first down.
A lot of strange calls in that game.
There was a lot of strange
on both sides.
time management calls. Yeah, and I think that's a function of one. You got one coach on the Packers sideline who's like 30-some years old. He's probably not quite.
He's like 42, 43.
Whatever, but he's not quite as experienced as he should be. And then you got Bruce Arians, who he probably goes home at night and pounds down some brewskis and says, "Hey, honey," to his wife, "I got Tom Brady. How lucky am I? I got that." He probably doesn't even care. He's got Tom Brady. I mean,
definitely 2 different coaches.
Definitely 2 different coaches.
He seems pretty. He has a pretty laissez-faire attitude. It seems like.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Going on to the second game of the day, Bills and Chiefs, and it really wasn't as close as a 38-24 final score.
No, it wasn't.
The Chiefs, well, I mean, they were down a little bit early, right? But I think they never really lost control of the game.
No.
And really the only reason they were down is because Hardman dropped the punt and gave the Bills the ball on the 2-yard line. But other than that, I mean...
Well, did the Bills... What was the biggest deficit?
9-0.
9-0.
Kicked the field goal and they missed the extra point after they scored the touchdown. But, yeah, I mean... Look, I've been saying for weeks now, Josh Allen's not ready yet to get to the Super Bowl. He's obviously not. And the Chiefs are, I mean, they're better than the Bills, right, overall. But still, it's just,
I still say, though, for Josh Allen to stay on his trajectory of like we talked about, of improving every year and showing that he's eventually going to get there, I think he performed what you need. He showed you what you need to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he didn't just lay an egg and they didn't get killed,
I agree.
I think he showed you what you need to see to realize, okay, they lost the game, but you can see he's progressing. He played well.
Okay, but
I
think he's better than Blake Bortles. But Blake Bortles took the Jaguars to the AFC Championship Game in his 4th year. So I mean, and then he's
but again, it's a progression. I don't know what he did with years 1 through 3, but Josh Allen, this is his 3rd year, Allen?
Yeah.
First year they missed the playoffs.
Right.
2nd year they get to the playoffs, lose the first game. 3rd year they get to the AFC Championship. It's a progression. Right. Bortles, I don't know what happened. I feel like all of a sudden they were just in the AFC Championship game. Like, I don't know.
And then they were no good.
Yeah. Then they were back to being no good. So we'll see what happens next year. But this seems like there's more of a steady progression trending upwards for the whole team in Josh Allen.
I think that. I mean, let's face it. As a fan, you'd like for your team to win the Super Bowl right away, right? But I think the Bills are doing it the right way. I mean, I think they're adding pieces. They're progressing, as you said. You get to the playoffs, you may lose. You get to the playoffs, you go a little deeper, and then you get to the point where you can knock down the door and get to the Super Bowl. And I think that's what the Bills are going to do. I think they've got Stephon Diggs, they got Josh Allen, they still have a pretty strong defense. I think the Bills are going to be around for a while. I really do. Yeah. And I think Josh Allen, by far, is the best quarterback of that class. That came out. So they mentioned this during the game. Some of the announcers were talking about how the fact that he recognized what he needed to do to get better. He spent a lot of time in the offseason working on his mechanics, working on his reads. And you could tell he was a different quarterback this year. The one thing, and Joseph, you've touched on this quite a bit, he still needs to make smarter decisions. You know, he took a couple sacks in that game. One of them he lost 13, 14 yards, but you just can't do that, you know.
Again, I brought this up. You point to that sack. I remember us talking about it. First of all, it was good that he held on to the ball. But again, though, it's him just, like we said, just throw it away, right? An experienced quarterback would just, after he kind of evades the first guy, he'd get out of the pocket, throw it away. But he was trying to make something happen. And I feel like a lot of his mistakes, again, are coming from a place of he's trying too hard to make something happen.
Right.
Like he's not it's more of just like I feel like that's something you can work with a little more than a bonehead, than a...
Just out there making bad reads.
Yeah, bad reads, throwing picks, not seeing guys. You know?
Right.
Yeah. I think you can work on that.
I think you're right.
I don't know how he would work on that in the offseason, really, but I feel like you kind of have to be in a situation. I don't know how you'd work on that.
Well, I think you have to be smart enough, I think
it's just building experience. The more you play, you just...
It is, you know, and take Peyton Manning. You remember Peyton Manning is known for, he'll just crumble down, right? When he thinks he doesn't have something. Eli Manning was the same way. Look at Tom Brady, even Sunday. Remember that one play where they decided to throw a screen? It wasn't there, he just threw it to the ground.
That was strange,
yeah, it was strange, but the point I'm trying to make is he didn't try.
Move,
he didn't try to roll out and make something happen.
And he knew he couldn't take a sack in that situation.
Right. So he threw it, and he realized that I'll live to fight another day. And that's, as a quarterback, that's what you have to realize, is that, you know, it's not there. I'm going to live to fight another day. I'm not going to do something stupid, you know. And that's what Josh Allen needs to get to. I think he's somewhat over the I'm going to run down the field and toss the ball in the air to somebody else, you know. But I think he's still at the point where he's not getting rid of the ball when he needs to get rid of it.
I agree with you. That type of thing is more. He realizes he needs to protect the ball a little better now. I think.
Right. Right. But he thinks he can do more than he actually can. Yeah. You know. But yeah, the Chiefs. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the Chiefs. I mean, you know, their offense is just unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, I you know, they were down 9-0, which isn't a tremendous score, but they were down 24-0 last year to the Texans. They were down by 10 to the Titans. They're down 9-0 Sunday. You can't stop them, really. I mean, they do so many different things. They have so many weapons.
No lead is safe with
no, it's not. That's exactly right. I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, I think now, you know, we saw the stat that they've hosted the AFC Championship Game 3 years in a row.
Right.
First AFC team to ever do that.
Right. Which is amazing in 50 years.
Yeah. And the only other team to even do it was the Eagles, coached by Andy Reid also.
Yeah.
So I think you have to start looking at this Chiefs team not this particular team, this era, this run they've had is one of the better teams in NFL history, right? Based on some of the stuff, back-to-back Super Bowls now.
I think we're looking at a possible, a new Patriots type of dynasty with the Chiefs. I mean, I know it's really early to say that.
Yeah,
and I guess it's on them to keep all the pieces they have, like we talked about. You're eventually going to have to. I don't know what the contracts are like.
Right.
They have to make sure they keep all these pieces. And then Andy, that stat you brought up to me about the only other team to do that, the Andy Reid Eagles. I'm starting to think Andy Reid is a lot better coach than people give him credit for.
Right.
He got to one Super Bowl. Right.
The Eagles.
With the Eagles,
with the Eagles, right.
And then he won one with the Chiefs.
Right.
So he's only been to two. I mean, I guess if you look at it from that point of view,
this is his third.
As a head coach.
But I guess from that point of view, it's maybe doesn't stack up with a lot of coaches, but I think there's more to it than that. I think you have to look at, like you said, the AFC Championship thing, six AFC Championship or AFC and NFC Championships, and I remember thinking when he went to the Chiefs that this is gonna be like, okay, he'll kind of pitter out with the Chiefs. It'll be one of those things you'll forget, you know, like, oh, remember Andy Reid coached the Chiefs? Oh yeah, like for a couple of years, like. But he's completely reinvented himself.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, arguably when he's done with the Chiefs, who knows when that's going to be? But especially if they win this Super Bowl, that could be the thing. That could be the team that pops your mind first when you hear Andy Reid.
Right.
He coached the Eagles. I forgot about that.
That's a good point.
I agree with that. That's an excellent point.
I think he's done. I think people need to look more seriously at him in the talk of all-time great coaches, at least in his era, at least. Maybe not.
Well, you brought up the point that the Chiefs have been in hosted three straight AFC Championship games. And I made the point yesterday that, they're one stupid defensive lineman's mistake of lining up off sides to being in 3 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Which is even more impressive when you think about it.
Were they down by a lot in that game, do you remember? Or was the deal in that pitch?
No, it was kind of a back and forth type game.
Yeah.
But Brady threw an interception on that play that would have ended the game if he hadn't been offside.
And then we were talking about coaching in this NFC Championship game before this Chiefs game. Having a coach like that, what that does for you, remember against the Browns, he had that great call going for him,
right.
and that won the game for him.
Right.
I mean, like we said, it's probably
opposite of the Packers, yeah.
Opposite of the Packers, but like we said, it was likely they were probably going to win anyways. But still, a great coach like that, makes those type of decisions that are going to win games for you.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Andy Reid, he comes from the Mike Holmgren coaching tree. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was in Green Bay at the same time that Favre was. I think he was
their offensive coordinator when they played the Patriots.
That's right. So so he knows what it's like to have a quarterback like a Brett Favre, and that's what he's got right now. He's got a Brett Favre type quarterback, that can make things happen, and he's got. I mean, let's face it. You look at those playmakers. I mean, Travis Kelce. I mean, the guy had 11 catches, for 160 some yards. I mean, they couldn't stop the guy.
I don't see how. I understand they have playmakers at wide receiver too that you have to give attention to, but at some point, I feel like you got to say, "Listen, we're just going to take Kelce.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, see what happens."
Right. Well,
he's running in the field open. I mean, I loved it. We haven't fans this year, but he's running in the field like open in the middle of the field, like all game against these teams.
That's a good point.
Well, Tony Romo made that point Sunday.
Put a nickel guy. Don't put a linebacker on him.
The Bills were playing that 2 deep zone. They weren't going to allow them to beat them deep, but they weren't jamming Kelce at the line of scrimmage. So he was running free underneath.
Like I said, I think at this point, that's a good strategy early on, maybe with the Chiefs, like last year. But at this point, I think you got to just say, we're not going to let you beat us underneath. See if you can beat us deep. I don't know.
Right. Well, you made this point Sunday, I think, is that...
Which they can. That's why it's tough to beat.
Exactly. That Kelsey's the guy that you got to take away, right?
Yeah.
Because, don't get me wrong, Tyreek Hill can beat you in a minute, right? He can catch one pass and go 90 yards. But he's going to drop a few. He's going to... Yeah.
It's a little...
That's some questionable thing.
Yeah, but Kelsey's money. I mean... Got his money in the bank.
He's penciling in for 9 catches and 130 yards every game.
Every game. That's exactly right. I mean, he even tried to score from 10 yards out.
Finally, after
the whole
year
season.
of fantasy, when he doesn't seem to care to get in the end zone.
Oh boy! But
so we're going to hold off on our Super Bowl breakdown.
Yes, we are.
It's going to be its own show next week because we don't have any games this weekend. So we'll talk about.
We have the virtual Pro Bowl.
Oh, how could I forget?
Really do.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. If we have time after breaking down the virtual Pro Bowl, we'll get to the Super Bowl matchup. But we'll wait and talk about the Buccaneers-Chiefs matchup. We'll give it its own show, Super Bowl preview on the Pressbox podcast. But let's talk a little bit about some other NFL topics here as the season's basically winding down. So start with the coaches. Since we last talked about the coaching hires, we have some new teams and new coaches, right? So Texans' job's still open.
Right.
It's the only one that's still open. I think since we last talked, we've got the Lions with Dan Campbell.
Right.
The
Jets.
Yeah, the Jets with Robert Saleh.
Right.
Saleh.
The
The Eagles hired that Sirianni guy from the Colts.
Right.
Colts offensive coordinator. Nick Sirianni or something?
Nick Sirianni.
Something like that. Sirianni is the last name. And then the Chargers hired the Rams offensive coordinator.
Right.
His name escapes me at this point. I don't have it. I'm not looking it up in front of me. But so just overall, what do you think of some of these more recent hires here? And then, of course, you've got. We may have talked about this. You got Urban Meyer with the Jaguars, and you got.
Who the Falcons hired? They hired
the
Titans offensive coordinator.
Arthur Brooks or
that's
Stephen
right.
Brooks.
Whatever name.
Arthur Brooks. That's is that his name?
Arthur Brooks. Yeah, I think it is Arthur something. Yeah.
Wasn't Arthur Brooks the character from Big Daddy? Child Services? It was Arthur Brooks.
It was Arthur Brooks.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Wait a second. You can go ahead. Yeah.
No, I think it's interesting. I guess when you
Arthur
think
Smith.
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Brooks Social Services.
I'm pretty sure that was him.
Yeah.
I guess when you think about it, I mean, most of these coaches that have made their name for themselves today have done it coming up through the ranks. So you really, even though we don't know who these guys are, we probably haven't heard much of them. It's probably more because they've been offensive coordinators on a team that we really don't follow much. So they could end up being very good head coaches, we don't know. Of course, they got Eric Bieniemy of the Chiefs offensive coordinator that's being touted as a head coaching candidate. Todd Bowles, who I don't understand why he's even being considered for a head coaching job. I mean, he's a great defensive coordinator. Look what he did with Arizona before he went to the Jets, and what he's doing now with the Buccaneers. But the guy basically emasculated the Jets 2 years ago. So why would you hire him?
But Adam Gase basically did the same thing. Is it maybe just the Jets? I mean, maybe is that?
I don't know.
I know we've talked about in the past. The Jets seem like a stable franchise that can win soon. But
here's a question. Like, okay, for every Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh that is kind of an obscure assistant coach that you find as a young guy, there's tons of these like Adam Gases and these guys that just get fired again after 3 years because they're terrible. Why don't you go out and get like an Andy Reid after the Eagles fired him, right? That's what the Chiefs did. Hey, let's get a proven head coach with experience. We know he's a good head coach, even if he's a quote-unquote retread head coach, right? So instead of that can coach, instead of one of these coordinators that's hit or miss.
And keep doing, and then if they're older and you have to get a new coach, in a shorter time span than you would have if you would have hit with the time, just keep doing that then. I know maybe these guys want a coach that they think is going to be there for 20 years. But that's tough to find one of these guys.
But how many of those guys are out there?
Get a new coach every 5 years if you need to. But
I have to think about it hard, but it's off the top of my head. I would have rather had Marvin Lewis or Jason Garrett than some of these guys.
Yeah.
They were both with their team for like 8 to 10 years. But Lewis was with the Bengals for more than that.
What happened to that Nolan guy that the 49ers used to have?
He's a defensive coordinator.
I would get him.
I'm
talking about head coaches that have had some success.
He had some success, did he not? Maybe not. How about that Giants defensive coordinator at one point? It was the Rams.
Spagnuolo? Yeah, he's the Chiefs defensive coordinator right now.
He didn't have a whole lot of success.
He didn't have a lot of success as the Rams head coach.
I guess you're talking about more proven guys like Andy Reid, Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis is a great option. I forget. Never mind. Somebody else in mind.
Well, I give the Cowboys credit for hiring Mike McCarthy. I don't know that he's that great, but he took the Packers to the Super Bowl. He's been a head coach for a long time. Maybe he doesn't work out, but at least you got a guy can coach.
You might have said this guy's name. What was the guy? Lovie Smith.
I don't know.
You don't know about that one?
He took the Bears to the Super Bowl. I mean,
he coached the Bears for like 30 years.
30 years.
It seemed like it. My point is, how's he needed for the Marvin Lewis?
Nah, you're right.
I don't know. I don't know.
Marvin Lewis did ever take the Bengals to the Super Bowl?
Listen, I think head coaching hires, especially in the NFL, is somewhat of a crapshoot. I mean, there's Belichick, and then maybe right below him there's an Andy Reid or a Pete
Carroll.
Pete Carroll, those type of guys. But then after that, it's a crapshoot, right? I mean, because, look at the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons went to the Super Bowl with, what's that guy's name? Mike. I don't know. We'll look it up. But my point is, the Falcons. Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name now. But the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, and then they didn't do anything after that. So I guess my point is, as a head coach has to do so many things.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. You have to be able to. You're not really coaching as much as you are coordinating. You're basically keeping the players motivated. Your hires of your offensive and defensive coordinators and your other coaches are very important, and I think it's more of an administrative job and dealing with the media, dealing with the press, dealing with your owner, and your general manager. That's kind of the important job as a head coach, and I think
this Doug Pearson guy is probably another one of those like Dan Quinn types. He won the Super Bowl.
He did win the Super Bowl,
but I feel like that's kind of like. I don't think a lot of guys get kept around longer. They have a longer leash because they got to or won a Super Bowl.
Oh, no question. Yeah, no question. Yeah, I mean, I think it. I mean,
in other words, it could kind of hurt it. It could kind of hurt a team in the long run because you want to win a Super Bowl. But I'm saying is you end up with a guy that maybe 5 years more, or 3, 4, 5 years more than you needed to because he won a Super Bowl with
right. Well, let's face it. It's very hard to get rid of a coach.
No.
Who won a Super Bowl, right?
The Eagles just did it, but
the Eagles did. I was shocked that they did that because he only coached 3 years after that Super Bowl. You would have thought he would have gotten at least one more year.
They weren't horrible.
Look at the Giants did that with Tom Coughlin. I mean, they probably gave him 1 or 2 more years than ordinarily you would have gotten because of the fact that he won two Super Bowls. So I think that does have something to do with it.
But the other guy you could get, Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, you get Tom Coughlin. I mean, he's willing to come out of retirement. Let's talk a little bit about the quarterback situation right now. I mean, that's going to be interesting right now because we have we have some veteran quarterbacks that are going to be on the trade market this year. Deshaun Watson wants a trade. Looks pretty sure that he's going to get traded.
We think, yeah. I mean,
I don't think he wants this. Period. He wants out of Houston.
I agree, but that doesn't mean anything. He's under contract with Houston, so they can say you're going to play.
But how many teams keep in any sport keep guys that really don't want to be there?
They don't. They don't.
They don't do that.
They don't because I mean,
why would you want to do that?
No, you both make good points. Joseph makes a good point from the standpoint he's under contract, right? And if he doesn't play, he's only hurting himself. You make a good point because do you really want a guy in their quarterback who doesn't want to be there?
Right? I know. I guess I'm saying the point is, Deshaun Watson's on the trading block because he says he wants to be. Well, yeah, they might trade him, but it doesn't mean anything just because he says I want to be traded.
No, it doesn't.
Whereas the Lions, they both met and mutually, I guess, agreed to part ways, right? So
that's a good point. The Little Big League movie showed us that it's on a player to perform, right?
Right.
The team.
So you got Stafford probably going to be moved. Watson, we think probably moved. Rivers retired, so you got an opening there.
Rivers retired, yeah.
You got Cam Newton's going to be out there as a free agent.
I'll stay away from him.
Well, I'm just saying he's going to be out there.
That's the Cam Rivers thing Cam Newton thing just put a light on in my head, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, is watch out for the Patriots. I mean, if the Patriots get one of these guys, Deshaun Watson or Matt Stafford, they could be back to being the Patriots.
Okay.
I don't think the Patriots were not the Patriots here just because they had him at quarterback.
Two things. One,
Cam Newton.
Stafford and Watson aren't free agents. So why would you trade them to the Patriots, to Belichick?
Yeah.
Unless he gives you something just so great.
If you're the Lions, why would you care if they're in the other conference?
I know, but why just give Belichick's still a good coach, even though he's not the same with Brady. So why help them out any after all they've done over the past 20 years?
Yeah, I don't think.
Listen, I see your point, but I think in the NFL trade market, you don't really care unless they're in your division, and then again maybe in your conference. You don't really care if you get a good enough haul coming back for it. You don't really care if you're helping them out,
unless you just know the guy you're trading is washed up, like when Belichick traded Bledsoe to the Bills.
Yeah, that was.
And he just sucked for years with the Bills.
Yeah,
but I mean.
Well, that's a good point.
I think Stafford's the best guy. I think he's better than Watson, even though he's older.
I agree.
I think he's the best guy to get out there. I think we even talked about, or I even mentioned, I guess, off the podcast that for the Jaguars, it's worth trading for Stafford. Yeah, he's 32 years old, but he was a former first overall pick. He's a proven quarterback. You could get it. The way quarterbacks are going now, he's got another 5 years in him, 5-6 years of probably pretty high level football.
Well, we even talked about before we knew Stafford was on the trading block, doing that with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
this is even a better.
Right. Either way, I think the move for Jackson was to trade the first pick.
Yeah.
And maybe even something else to get one of these proven quarterbacks.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
If they do that, then Urban Meyer's he may be out of there. Don't you think that they consulted with him before they hired him?
They probably won't do it, but who's to say this Trevor Lawrence guy isn't a Sam Darnold?
No, I'm willing to bet that I feel like that had to come up before they hired him, and I feel like he told them that he wanted Trevor Lawrence, and they're like, all right.
Well, I think you always, in my view, you always opt for a guy that's proven over a guy that's not proven.
I agree. Either one of those two.
I think the Washington football team is to be on some of these guys.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they need a quarterback badly because Alex Smith, let's face it, I mean, I think he did a tremendous job coming back, but he's done. I mean, he's done.
I think he could be their backup.
He could be their backup. And I don't think Tyler Heineke or whatever his name is, as good as he played, and I'm happy for him, and I think he's got a backup job locked up. He's not a starting quarterback.
He could be the backup too, yeah.
This bodes well for Washington too, because once you get rid of Alex Smith, you go to the Super Bowl.
That's true.
49ers, Kaepernick, Super Bowl. Chiefs, Mahomes, Super Bowl. So
the next year? No. Not the next year, was it? Each of those times?
Yeah, next year, yeah.
Kaepernick, the 49ers are the same season. They benched him midway through the season. But they let Mahomes start that Week 17 game, and then the next year they gave him the job.
Yeah, so that
he didn't get he won the MVP, but didn't get the Super Bowl.
He didn't get the Super Bowl that year,
okay.
but still. Yeah. Alex Smith is becoming the Steve DeBerg of the.
But I think that only counts if Alex Smith is your obvious starter in that season before.
Until he got hurt. He was their obvious starter.
Was he with the Redskins?
Yeah, he was.
All right, I guess.
But then you got Rivera could re-sign Cam Newton for a stopgap.
He could
if he likes him from Carolina.
I think Cam Newton's done. I mean,
I think Carolina's better off actually if they want like a stopgap. The guy they played a few games this year.
I'm talking about the Redskins or Rivera's the coach of Washington, so I'm saying he could re-get.
How about
Carolina? I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is not the guy. I mean, they need to figure something out too.
No, they need to figure something out there.
But he'd be just as good as Cam Newton.
Right now, maybe.
Maybe right now.
I'm telling you, and you said this, and I agree. Jameis Winston, okay? I'm not saying he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but if you're desperate at the quarterback position, he's going to make some plays. He's obviously going to throw picks. He may not even get you to the playoffs, but there's a chance you get something going with him, right?
If you're a team like the Colts or the Redskins that needs a quarterback right now, you have a big board in the office, and you write down quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Number 1, Matthew Stafford. Number 2, Deshaun Watson. Number 3, the guy you just mentioned. Jameis Winston. And then you tell everybody, this is the order. Do everything you can to get number 1. If you can't get him, you cross him out. Do everything you can get number 2. Everything you can get number 3. You'll get one of those 3, I think.
Well, it depends on how much you're willing to give up. Yeah. That's the thing.
Well, my point is one of those 3. If you don't want to give up much, you'll get Jameis Winston.
How about the Steelers sign Dwayne Haskins? What do you think about that?
Surprising. I didn't think anybody would sign him. I thought it was like a Jamarcus Russell /
I know that happened. I didn't even know Rivera coached the Redskins. So what about it?
Johnny Manziel deal, or he's now out of the league. But I don't know.
Well, who knows if he's going to start next season with the Steelers?
Right.
Well, he's not going to start on the roster. You mean?
Yeah.
We don't know
That's
that.
True.
That's true.
He could get released in training camp or something like that.
All right. What about Roethlisberger? You think he needs to retire?
Well, does he need to?
I mean, do you think he's got enough left where he can really lead the Steelers to a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
I don't know. Not to the Super Bowl, no.
Yeah, I do. I don't think that. Look, they probably weren't as good as their 11-0 start.
Right.
But they were 11-0, and look, if that snap doesn't go over his head in the first possession, I think that's a different Browns playoff game. So I think that he's their best option. So the Steelers should want him back, and B, I think he comes back. I think he does.
I think he will, and I think the Steelers should want him to. Yeah. Should he, based on a fan looking at him? I'm not like a big fan of his, but viewer. I guess he probably should. Yeah, I mean, like you said, if you're 11-0 at any point at the start of the season, if you're 11-0, you probably should try to come back.
Yeah,
you're also good. I don't think he can get him to the Super Bowl. In large part because the Chiefs are in their conference.
Right.
My question is, these teams like the Lions and the Texans, like, okay, what are you really trying to? What are your plans now? Like, who are you going to play at quarterback?
I agree.
mean, these two guys are very good quarterbacks.
Well, the Texans, he wanted to be traded. So they probably don't have a plan.
The Texans is a little different. The Texans.
The Lions.
They made a mistake in the handling of Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson wanted to be involved in the selection of a general manager.
He did?
I
would have said.
He wanted to be consulted about the coach, who they chose as the coach. Okay, right.
And it doesn't. Who do you think you are, Tom Brady?
Yeah, that's what I would say. The coach.
I understand that, but that's what happened there. The Lions is the peculiar one to me, right? I mean, you got a new coach coming in. Your team is not that good anyway, right? I mean, what were they? 5-11, 6-12, or 6-10? I don't know, but they weren't that good. And now you're going to get rid of the one guy you got who basically kept you in a lot of games. Yeah. You're looking at a 2-14 season staring you in the face.
Are we completely sure that's how it went down? They went to him and said, "Listen,
we don't know, but what the media reports were that it was mutual. In other words, they both agreed that it was time to move on.
I heard somebody say one time in reference to the entertainment industry that it's never mutual, regardless of what you hear. So I mean,
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I kind of tend to agree with that. I think that's a thing that they throw out to make it appear like it was an amiable separation, but I think it was one side or the other.
Listen, I will give the Lions credit in this regard. If they went to Matt Stafford and said, look, like you said, it wasn't mutual. If they said, look, you've still got 4, 5, maybe 6 years left of really quality football. We're not going anywhere as a team, okay? So we're going to trade you, all right? Try to get as much as we can for you and build our team, and that also gives you the opportunity to go somewhere and maybe win right away, okay? So that's where I think it became mutual. But I think the Lions were the ones that initiated this and said, look, I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to sit here with Matt Stafford and go 6-10, 7-9. I think they realized, let's get as many draft picks as we can and see if we can build this thing.
And when we talk to him about it, we'll spin it in a way that's positive for his career.
And I think he's fine with that too. I think that's where the mutual part. I think he probably figured, look, if I have a chance to go to the Colts or go somewhere, where I can win right away, why not?
Because he doesn't want to probably be a part of a rebuilding thing.
No, of course not. I mean, why would you want to do that?
He tried that when he first got drafted by the Lions. It didn't
Exactly.
work out too well.
That's right. And then they had that little window of success where in 2016 they got the playoffs and won a playoff game and then got beat by the Cowboys in the playoffs. But they had a little success. The Lions.
They had a little. Did they ever? How far did they ever get when they had a Calvin Johnson? Do you remember?
That's as far as they got. Was the divisional round.
Yeah. He was playing in 2016.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Calvin Johnson was. Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. He's only been retired for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think.
I thought it was a little longer than that. But
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out this year with what happens with the quarterbacks in the next few weeks. But anyway, we're down to our Super Bowl teams. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, first team in the NFL history, right? In 55 Super Bowls, first team to play in the Super Bowl at their home stadium. Which is interesting.
And we talked a little bit of this off air, but I think it's beneficial. Like it helps you as a team. It's like a home game. You don't have to travel. In a normal year, it's very beneficial. You don't have to do the whole.
In a normal year,
right. Fly into a new city, do the whole circus all the whole week. But it's not as fun. Like in a normal year, if I'm on the Buccaneers, I don't really want that. It's like you just play another home game. Right? I like to go to the side. It's more of an experience. Yeah. But this year I think you said that the Chiefs aren't even arriving until the day before.
Yeah, this could be just like a road game
because of the coronavirus stuff. So
a lot of times for a lot of these players too, if it's at a different site, it could be the stadium they never played in before. So that's cool too. But they've all at least played in their home stadium.
Right. So it's beneficial for the team, but it's not the same experience,
Right. It's not the same experience. You're right about that. I mean,
and like I said, Joe, I think not only is it beneficial for the traveling and staying in their actual homes and stuff, but I think it probably I don't know, but I'd have to think it calms, especially the guys who've never been there before, which is a lot of them, the Buccaneers. I would think it has to calm your nerves a little bit when you on game day when you're at your home stadium. You
got to. Everything's familiar.
Yeah, everything's familiar. Yeah, the locker rooms, the pull into the parking lot. Yeah. It has to calm you down.
Somebody, I forget who tweeted this, but somebody said, obviously, our point. This is the first time they played at their home stadium, but the closest time before was the 49ers at Palo Alto Stanford Stadium.
Right.
But the Rams played at the Rose Bowl in 1980. So are we talking just like miles of difference here? Like what? How's that? I don't know.
I think the question is in your home stadium. It's the stadium you play your regular season.
No,
either one.
But Joe's saying they cited that 49ers Palo Alto as the closest distance wise. Oh. Joe's saying the LA Rams played at the Rose Bowl.
Yes, they did.
So we're talking like a 5 mile difference here. Like
I can't imagine Palo Alto is. There's no way it's closer to San Francisco than the Rose Bowl.
No,
there's no way.
Maybe that was a mistake. Yeah,
no, it can't be. Yeah.
There's no way it is.
Yeah. But anyway, that was a good stadium too. They should have never tore that down. Stanford Stadium. Oh. They built a new one on the same site, but
I remember it had this big looked like break in the corner, right? Yeah. That was cool. Had a big fissure.
Yeah. NFL season is basically concluded except for the Super Bowl, and we'll break that down next week on the Press Box podcast. And
let's remind everybody real quick too. Our Twitter feed at PressBoxPod. Hopefully we'll try to get some things up on Twitter this week to maybe some questions or some things for you to think about where you can respond to. But hit us up on Twitter if you have any comments or questions or feelings about what we've discussed and maybe your ideas of the games that were just concluded. But as Joseph said, next week we will preview Super Bowl 55 between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Can't believe we're already at Super Bowl 55. I mean, it seems like just yesterday we were down in Super Bowl, for me anyway, Super Bowl 10, 11, 12, and now here we are at 55. So it's been it's been a weird year, but I think it's amazing that the NFL made it through the entire season with no games canceled. Obviously, there were some games moved around, but none of the games were canceled, and pretty much a pretty basic year. I mean, everything played out kind of the way you'd expect it to play out, and we're getting ready for the Super Bowl. So we look forward to next week.
Yeah, next week, episode 70.
Episode 70, yes.
Press Box Podcast. Yes. We'll see you then.